welcome to the Media Bubble podcast. It's a podcast that talks all geeky media-related topics. I'm Fredrik and he's Karol. Let's get this show on the road.
Yes, good day everyone. Welcome to the episode 2 of our 10 movies from 2022.
Yeah, it's part 2 of our look back at the 10 films from the year 2022. And if you haven't seen our first part, go and watch it. But if you want to see specifically one of the films that we're going to talk about here, I'm also going to give you a spoiler warning. We're going to be talking very freely about these films.
Yeah, I think some of them will try to skip out on the important bits, but others will just dive fully into what they're about.
So I guess let's get started right away in that case with Disenchanted.
Oh yeah, oh my god, honestly, I kind of forgot about the movie, that it existed.
Yeah, me too. When I was planning these 10 films, Disenchanted had kind of just come out. And it was a film that we talked about in our D23 episode about, so I kind of included it then and there. But the film kind of just made noise like the 2 days that it premiered. Then like the film was completely forgotten about. So I was kind of wondering if I would have taken this away, but I remember talking to you at one point, and you kind of were looking forward to it, and you kind of wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful that you did because I enjoyed it. I know this is not a perfect follow up to the first one. There's also a lot of choices happening with the plot, but I have to say, if you enjoy the first one and if you just want this feel good story about a mother and daughter working through their issues, I give it a shot.
Can I ask you something? Do you remember in the original if Jahzzar got pregnant or had a baby in like the ending scene of the original movie?
No, I don't.
Okay, because something that I was kind of thinking about is that the original film came out like 2007 or something like that, and they are kind of making a bit of a time skip in this film where the original daughter of that film is now a teenager, but it doesn't make complete sense with how time, I guess, works in the real world. Because in that case the daughter would have been a bit older.
Do we know what year is it in the Disenchanted movie?
No, not specifically.
Because it still could work. It's just
I don't mean that it couldn't work. It was just something that I've thought a bit about.
I don't know. It didn't stood out to me that much, at least.
If you can say in the original film that Giselle, who came from a fairy tale world, comes into the real world, this film is kind of the opposite, where the fairy tale world comes into the real world.
Yeah, and I was afraid that
that sounded strange.
But it feels kind of like an evolution of the first movie. As I said, I know this movie has a lot of flaws. I feel like I have to defend it because not a lot of people enjoyed it. But I don't know. It feels okay. Like, it feels natural to me. Giselle, she's disillusioned with living in New York. It's cramped. She has a big family now, and she misses her own home because it felt like it was so much easier for her back there. She's a mom now. She wants her daughter to fit in. It's not as simple as singing a song to just communicate, and they have issues. So Giselle, being this fairy tale princess, uses magic to try to fix it all the way, but it doesn't work because it's not a fairy tale. It's real world.
Yeah, she uses magic to kind of make it into a fairy tale world, and her daughter, who is a teenager and has kind of stopped talking to her, uh, which makes Giselle a bit disappointed, because she's trying to help her teenage daughter and she doesn't really want her help. And so when she uses magic, her daughter is talking to her again.
Yes, because in this fairy tale, she's the stepdaughter, and Giselle is the stepmother.
That also comes up at that point. There is that in fairy tales, the stepmother or stepmom is usually not looked on as a good person, which kind of starts to make Giselle into the bad guy of the film.
Yeah, which I loved. Say what you want, but the main actress, what was her name?
The main actress?
Yeah.
Well, she is kind of she's Amy Adams.
Yeah, so she was wonderful as this evil stepmother. I loved it, every second of it.
She kind of plays Giselle with a kind of sweet, wonderful look into the world, where she kind of has this look of, oh, how everything is sunshine and rainbows in some way.
Yeah, which I feel like maybe throughout this time she was in the real world, she would kind of lose, but apparently she didn't.
No, it's still there.
What is my cat trying to do? She's doing this yoga, trying to get onto my computer. Why are you so relentless? Okay.
Or daily little bit of Carol's cat.
Yeah, she's really insistent on being in these 2 episodes. But I would like to say I enjoyed the musical numbers. It was just this funny twist, like, does everyone in Andalonia sing and not talk? Not if we can help it. And then they just started singing these banging tunes, like I'm like when so because Giselle is turning into a stepmother, she's becoming very mean and awful towards her stepdaughter, and it culminates with her pushing her stepdaughter into a well to ask for help from the Andalonian world. But in the meantime, she just becomes fully evil. So we have this banging musical number between Giselle and the evil queen, like I'm the like who's the baddest, and I loved it so much. I liked the music, I liked the costumes, I liked that that Giselle went fully evil, that she had like an evil cat. I loved that. I loved it.
I gotta say that the set design of this film is really good, because it kind of really looks like a fairy tale world, but in the real world.
Yeah, it felt very magical, very whimsy, and very Disney.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about that, because they increased references to Disney princesses and like Disney brand in the movie.
Yeah, they kind of did that in the original too.
But apparently, from what I've read, not in the same degree. For example, when what was the stepdaughter's name?
Let's see. It was
Morgan.
Yeah.
So Morgan has this one song about going to the ball, and we even have like a homage to the Little Mermaid with the water splashing behind her as she's on the crates. We also have words like Maleficent and Cruella in the song between Giselle and the evil queen. And we have, the 3 fairy godmothers were specifically in the colors of red, green, and blue, as in the Cinderella.
No, not Cinderella in that case. In, let's see, Sleeping
Beauty, yes. And I said I enjoyed this movie, but I also want to talk about some of the things that were weird and that were choices.
Okay.
So, we have Giselle. She's as same as ever. Amy Adams is doing a good job. She's channeling this princess turning evil. But as the spell is cast, Morgan just becomes this fairy tale stereotype. And sure, she's still she like it's morbid because she's this perfect daughter that Giselle wanted her to be, this happy woman that fits in.
Mm.
But at that point, she's not Morgan. She's a different character.
Yeah.
And also,
She kind of transformed her daughter to her liking.
yeah, but then she's not really doing. She's, as I said, she's not Morgan anymore. She's just a stereotype. And the same problem is with Giselle's husband, Robert, because I don't feel like the directors know what to do with him.
I gotta be honest. I found that so fun. Like he was so out of the story, and there's just cuts to him having a few segments of him and his own weird adventure.
Yeah,
which felt so out of place from the rest of the story.
like he fought a dragon, he chased a giant, he saved a kid, he went looking for his daughter, but he was mostly like out of the important stuff. He only came back to stop the clock from striking 12 and making the wish come true for permanent reasons.
It was so much that they didn't really know how he would fit into the story. That when his scenes came up with his own story, it felt so.
Yeah, like it just felt like a different story.
It felt so out of place that it was funny to me.
Yeah, maybe it like because as I said, it's a thing I see and it's wrong, but it's not bad. I didn't feel like it made the movie worse for some reason.
One character that I was a bit disappointed about that he wasn't more in this film was Prince Charming.
Yeah, he didn't do much. He was the love interest / goal for Morgan.
Yeah, and he was kind of so fun in the original film, and the scenes he have in this film is still kind of fun because it's kind of like that thing of he doesn't fully understand everything.
Oh wait, I mixed it up. I thought you meant because I said he was the goal for Morgan, and I thought you meant the evil queen's son, but you mean the actual Prince Charming from Andalonia.
Yeah, I actually mean him.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit of name gets mixed up for me because there's so many names in some ways that you can't really remember everyone.
But I have to give them props because I didn't suspect to them actually bring the original actors for Prince Charming and the Queen from Andalonia to the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they brought them back, but well, the more Prince Charming you can get, the better, I guess.
Yeah. And actually, this is one of the 2 movies I cried on.
Really? Why?
I don't know. Okay, so
Wait,
you're gonna laugh at me.
Which other film did you cry to about?
We haven't come to it yet.
Oh, okay.
So, this is a silly, goofy movie. And there is this underlying subtext. Well, not subtext, it's really obvious that Morgan feels that she's not the real daughter of Giselle. She's only her stepdaughter. And then we have a scene where Morgan has to make a wish to undo Giselle's wish. And I don't know, it's just this talk about her creating a world, like that she's a true daughter of Andalonia because Giselle wanted to create a world for Morgan where she would be safe and she could be her ruler who she wanted to be. And she would fit in and she wouldn't just have this good life.
What was her last wish? Wasn't it something like I want to be the real daughter or something?
No. She said, I want to be home with my mom.
Oh, okay.
And everything turned back. And it was cute. Like, Giselle just wanted this happiness for Morgan. And it didn't matter that she wasn't her biological daughter. She loved her enough that Magic knew that Morgan was her daughter. That Morgan didn't have to doubt herself. That Giselle wanted everything for Morgan.
Yeah. I gotta feel like the original film felt a bit bigger to me. Like even thought the designs and everything of this film looks great. It feels like we are a bit closed off in this little town in some way.
Yeah, I think that was probably also the gripe with that other people had, because it doesn't feel as grand as the original.
Hmm. It almost feel like a bit of a TV made film.
Yeah, direct to DVD.
In some ways it does. Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we still. I would also wanted to point out we still had animated cutscenes, but they were not the best quality.
Yeah, that too is that there is animation in this film, and it is, well, the designs themselves is somewhat good, but when they move sometimes it's
The backgrounds,
a
oh
bit
my
awkward.
god. Like it yeah, like it felt trippy, man. It didn't look good.
Okay, so I guess that was in Disenchanted then.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
I feel like it came through how much I want people to see this movie, even though it's not the best.
Yeah. Let's see. The next film, Where the Crowded Sings, which is one movie that Karol hasn't checked out. Which I was kind of surprised because I thought that this was going to be one of the one that you probably would be most interested in. But apparently not.
You know, I mentioned before. I don't know if it was in this episode or in the episode before, but I don't usually check reviews before seeing the movie. This was the only movie where I checked the reviews, and it put me off.
Why?
I don't know. I just was interested, like general premise, and I stumbled onto IMDb and the reviews of it, and I just like people were disappointed with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people are very maybe mixed on it. I feel like some people, a lot of people like it. Maybe some are disappointed by it. It's kind of like a mixed film. I feel like.
Would you tell me more about it?
Let's see. Daisy Edgar-Jones plays a character called Kaya in this film, and Kaya grows up with her family on this what is
Marsh.
on this march on this march, and her family and everything is there. Her mother is there, but her father is kind of he has kind of a temperament. So her mother one day just leaves. And eventually all of her other sibling leaves. So it's just her and her dad. And while her dad is a bit mean sometimes, they start to build kind of a good relationship in some way. But one day her father just leaves too. So she is kind of the only one left on this march. So she gets her name, the March Girl, by the local community or local town. And sometimes when she goes actually into town, she gets really bullied by the other kids from the town, and she that's kind of also a reason why she doesn't want to go there anymore. So she kind of spends all her time on the march, and she gets a bit of money by fishing crabs. If I remember correctly, I think she was fishing crabs.
Yeah, she makes money somehow.
Yeah, so she gets a little bit of money from that by selling it to, and then it kind of cuts to her being a teenager, and she gets to love interest. The first love interest who is this sweet, nice boy who she meets, and they start to really have a good relationship with each other. But he wants to go to college, and eventually he does go to college, and he promised her that they would meet on the new year. But when that day came, he didn't return back. So she was really, really disappointed by that, because he was kind of in many ways the only connection she had with a person, and with the only connection being him, it's kind of disappointed when he lets her down. And then she meets another boy who was kind of the popular guy of the town. He was kind of the star football player when he was in high school, and
The village bicycle.
yeah, and he gets for some reason really interested in this smart girl, I guess, with her looks and everything, and she doesn't really want to have anything to do with him, but he is really persistent, and eventually he I guess succeed in charming her, I guess, and so they eventually also starts to get into a relationship. But one day while she is in town, she discovers that he has kind of lied to her, and that he has a fiancée. So there gets a bit of trouble between their relationship, because she wants to end it, he doesn't. He starts to get really angry and punch her and things like that, and try to hunt her, which she doesn't, which of course she doesn't really like. And one day he mysteriously just dies from falling down a high building, let's say that.
Okay.
And then it goes into this court drama in some way, where it's her defending herself from this supposedly murder. And that's kind of what the film is about in some way.
What? So wait. So it goes from a teenage love story to courtroom drama.
Well, the courtroom drama was always there. It kind of parallels each other. The film kind of begins being a courtroom drama, and then it goes into a lot of flashback scene, which is of her growing up in the
marsh.
Why do I always forget the march? Why do I forget that name all the time?
Don't worry about it.
So it's kind of a parallel thing, and in many ways it's kind of about, the film is kind of about accepting the things that you don't know in some way, because she doesn't have that good of a reception by the town people, because they found her weird, and that's kind of like the stereotypes that this film is kind of trying to fight, I guess.
Trying to fight the stereotypes.
Well, yeah, the kind of look people have on the outcast of the town in some way.
Okay, so this movie where the Crowdads sing, there has been a few criticism saying that it kind of sanitized the case that the movie also speaks about, that it focuses too much on the romance aspect between her, the main character, and the boys, because it's kind of based a little bit on the life experiences of the writer. So apparently the writer of this book is was accused in 1990s of killing a poacher in South Africa, and he also is kind of a naturalist and also lived kind of alone in the marshes. So a lot of stuff parallels the main character and the writer. Not the boy love drama, but the rest. And that's the gripe that people have with this movie, that doesn't focus enough on the actual crime of what could have happened, and it doesn't really dance around morality of, like, yeah, like, she's an outcast and she believes the marshes or her home, so she doesn't really have to follow human laws in that sense.
Well, if I'm being quite honest, just in how I look at the film, yeah, I'm kind of glad in many ways that the courtroom drama was a bit on the backdrop, because that was kind of the most that was kind of uninteresting, if I'm being honest.
Oh.
Like I feel like if I'm being quite honest, the most interesting in this film is kind of the love relationship that she gets with these two boys.
Which boy did you root for?
The first one.
The nice boy.
But, well, the second one, it's very obvious that he isn't what he seems to be in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, for goodness sake, he tried to kill her. I can see why he's not the love interest supreme.
Do you actually want to know a weird thing about the second boy?
Yeah.
The actor that played him is his name is let's see, Harry Dickinson, and this is the third film that we are talking about that he is in.
Wait, what? What other movies did he star in?
He was the main model in Triangle of Sadness.
Oh shit!
And he was also in See How They Run. He was the kind of main actor of the play in that film.
Whoa, his range! I did not clock that.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I didn't realize that until I looked at the Wikipedia side of just, wait a minute. He was in all these three.
Yeah, so what we're coming...
That wasn't planned, I can say.
So what we're coming up with is that 2022 was the year of Harry Dickinson.
Yeah, in some way, I guess.
But how would you score the movie?
7 out of 10, I guess. Like I enjoyed it because I gotta be honest, I really like love stories. So I was kind of into that aspect.
Wait, you
and
do?
Yeah, I really like love stories and couples and things like that.
I learned something new about you every day.
So that was kind of the main part which I really enjoyed of the film. But I can admit that if you want to watch this film for the court drama and the outcast kind of story, then maybe this film doesn't do a good enough job, I guess.
I see. Maybe then I'll give it a watch, actually.
There is one thing about this film in the ending, which is kind of I don't really know if I like that, because it's kind of also destroys a lot of things that happens before in the film. Spoilers here again. In the last film of the scene, let's see, the boy number 2 always wears a medallion which Aya gave him, and he kind of always wears it. But when he died, that medallion was suddenly gone from him. It wasn't found anywhere. And in the last scene of the film, It's a lot of years has gone by, and she has died, and boy number one is looking at one of her books, and when he opens the book, he finds that necklace in one of the books.
Ha! So she killed him. In self-defense, but she killed him.
Yeah, it's in some way it tries to be like, oh, did she really kill him or not? But that evidence is kind of really significant of she probably did in that case, and that kind of a thing is kind of in some way it kind of ruins a lot of things that was said in earlier of the film. In that case, I feel like.
So you would rather see that it be more ambiguous if she did it or not?
Yeah, probably.
But as I said, there were a lot of similarities between the writer and the main character, so maybe they wanted to point it out.
Well, let's get to the next one.
I agree. So, Pinocchio from the Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro's version of Pinocchio, which you kind of are. This year you kind of have to be specific about which Pinocchio you're watching, because there's two other versions of Pinocchio out there.
Yeah, when did it come out? When did the live action Pinocchio came out? Was it?
There wasn't a live action Pinocchio. There was two other animated Pinocchios. One from a company from Russia, and another one from Disney. Right, the Disney live action version.
That's the one I'm
correct about that.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, that came out. I don't know, somewhere October, December, or September. I think somewhere around that time frame.
Yeah, so they all came out this year, but this is the one we're specifically talking about.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro's version of Pinocchio.
I liked it.
What do you feel?
This is the second movie that made me cry.
Yeah, I had a feeling about that when you specifically said the cry.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just that it's the classic story of Pinocchio.
Well,
but there's more depth
in
added
some
to
way.
it. Yeah. Like they changed a few facts. They changed the Pleasure Island to a Italian nationalist military facility.
Yeah. That's one of the bigger changes.
They also made the whole backdrop be Italy during the World War II.
Well, it was kind of always Italy, but it was never really specifically told Italy in other versions.
Can we talk about how Carlo has a British accent in Italy?
Yeah, you can talk about that if you want to.
So, in the beginning of the movie, we have a little bit backstory on Geppetto. So he created Pinocchio during a drunken stupor, like a drunken manic episode, because he was grieving after the death of his son, Carlo. Carlo was a young boy of 10 years, and because of the World War, he ended up in a church that his father was renovating, that ended up being bombarded by planes.
The film kind of explained that the reason why they dropped a bomb was not a specific reason for attack. It was kind of to take off some load from the
planes. Yeah,
which is a horrible reason to explain to someone why their son has died.
But it just happened. It was just war. And Geppetto goes just like full drunk mode. He cannot function. So one night he creates Pinocchio, and the good fairy, who in this version is some kind of like an angel with many eyes. I love the design of the angels. She gave life to the puppet. She borrowed soul of someone, as it said in the movie, and Pinocchio came up to life. And
Yeah, it's also being narrated by the cricket at the same time. And one thing while we are in this segment is that when Geppetto is carving Pinocchio, is kind of in a drunk state. And so one fun fact that I saw that Guillermo del Toro told is that there's a difference between Pinocchio's right and left side of his face, because one side is kind of detailed and has an ear, and is I guess carved in a better way, while in the left side, while Geppetto is getting more drunk and more tired, he kind of starts to skip a bit of steps on that side. So so there's a bit of an explanation of why Pinocchio
looks the way he does.
yeah, in some way looks the way he does.
Yeah, and I think
While some things are more detailed than others.
that's really cool, actually. So Pinocchio, being he just became alive, so he's just a menace. Geppetto wants to kill him because he's afraid of what will happen.
Yeah, there's a big difference between this Pinocchio and other Pinocchio version, and that is that this Pinocchio,
He doesn't give a damn.
yeah, he's a bit more like the book version, where he's kind of and he's a bit of I guess a child in many ways, where a child kind of just want to do what they think is fun.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what Pinocchio is doing throughout this film. He kind of ignores orders and just do what he thinks is fun.
And the townsfolk force Pinocchio to go to school, which he does not enjoy.
Well, did he even manage to go to school in this version?
No, he didn't. He just he was approached by the carnival maker and said that he will be a star, so come to me to the carnival and I'll make you shine. So he does that, and Pinocchio is a blast. Nevertheless, Geppetto is worried sick about him, and he learns that Pinocchio
follows.
that he's not in school. He has to drag him out of the carnival, and Pinocchio is run over by a car. This is where we learn that Pinocchio cannot die. He will only be dead for longer periods of time, but he will never truly die.
Yeah, and there's a line in this scene where you said this line before, and it's kind of like Pinocchio has a borrowed soul. And that is something that also never is really brought back into this film, what that really means.
Yeah. I'm gonna guesstimate that it's probably Carlo's soul, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but it's weird if it's Carlo's soul in some way, because the movie is in many ways try to point out that Pinocchio isn't Carlo. He isn't a replacement for Carlo. He's a different person.
Yeah. So that's why it's weird, but maybe it's just like a catch-all term for something that should not be alive in the first place.
Yeah, maybe.
But the problem is, because Pinocchio signed a contract, when he comes back to life, turns out he also just said, yeah, I signed that, that's fine. The problem is, Geppetto is gonna owe a lot of money if Pinocchio doesn't perform. So not to be a burden, because at this point, Geppetto and Pinocchio have a falling out because Geppetto says a few things that he doesn't mean. Pinocchio runs off and joins the carnival to try to earn money for Geppetto, and so that he doesn't have any pay any debts. And so begins the chase, because Geppetto loves Pinocchio and he wants his son back. So he chases him through Italy to try to catch up to him and save his son. And I don't know, I think with time, as Pinocchio is learning to what it means to be a person, and he repeats the lessons he learned from the cricket and his dad, and I don't know, it just, as we were approaching the end of the movie, I just got teary eyed, especially the beach scene.
Well, what I will say about this film is that I really like the story until a certain point where I felt like it. Let's see.
What point was that?
There's some things where I felt were a bit weird in the story department. The first is when Pinocchio is kind of at war.
At the youth, like Italian youth military facility.
Yeah, and he gets blown away from that facility, and suddenly just the main carnival villain is back. So suddenly.
Yeah, that actually weirded me out. Like, what was he doing there?
Yeah, he's kind of just, oh, I'm here again. Okay, why are you here?
It could be explained. I'm sorry. It could be explained, maybe, because he knows that that Pinocchio can't die, and somehow he had to be transported onto the transport to the facility. So it's not too much of a stretch to say that he just followed the truck. Yeah, so it's not too much of a stretch to say that he could just follow the truck, since he knows that Pinocchio will revive, and he knows where it's going.
Yeah, I also found a bit weird about the whale scene, or the big sea monster, like how they kind of try to or how they escape from the sea monster's stomach, where with Pinocchio's nose where he was lying, which is kind of like an escape with lying, which is supposed to be bad. And there was also one scene that reminded me of the other version of Pinocchio, where Pinocchio, for some reason, when they are in the water, for some reason gets kind of a motor in the water where his legs goes faster for some reason. I also will say that the film is beautifully animated throughout this whole film with this stop motion. The water scene to me felt a bit weird to look at, because that was kind of CGI, I guess.
Yeah.
And it felt a bit weird when you look at the other parts of the film, but throughout the whole film, a good movie.
Yeah, I have to add there were some scenes where the effects were stunning. For example, when Pinocchio is fighting with the ringleader, and he cuts off Pinocchio's nose, he does those flourishes with the sword. And I'm still thinking to now, how did they manage to film that if it's all stop motion? Like, how do they make the knife go so blurry? Is it just like a longer piece of metal, or how?
Well, who knows?
Who knows? Watch the movie and you'll see.
Yeah, I also gotta say that the ending of this film did surprise me a bit, if I'm being honest. Like, I did not really expect it going that beautiful kind of direction.
I think it's just goes to show that Guillermo del Toro knows his stuff, and that he really wanted to make this project, because he tried to. He just was waiting until the copyright on Pinocchio, is that correct?
No, the copyright of Pinocchio was always there. It was just the financial of what this movie would be, and finding someone and maybe getting a bigger reputation to finally be able to do it. Because stop motion is not the...
It's expensive.
Well, yeah, it's not the... Yeah, it's expensive.
But I say we have talked a little bit about Pinocchio. Should we go to the next movie?
Yeah, we go to the next movie now, which is The Menu.
Yeah, So another F the Rich movie.
In some way, yes. In other ways, not. Like, like, eh, it's a commentary on, I guess, a lot of things, and I feel like the biggest commentary about this film is this the drive for perfection, only to when they are imperfection, that perfection is kind of ruining them in some way or destroying them.
I didn't think of it that way, but I have to agree. Because that's the main deal with the main villain.
Yeah, he kind of is a man who was driven by this goal of becoming this world famous chef and uh, wanting to be the best that there is, and he succeeds in that. But when he has reached that top and see what's there, he kind of is disappointed about it.
Yeah. And
gets let down a lot because he's making food for all these rich, privileged people who can afford eating at his restaurant, only for them to not really appreciate what he's making.
yeah, I think for the listeners that haven't not heard of the menu, I think we should skip forward a little bit or skip back and tell us what the premise is. So we have this very damaged man who runs a restaurant, and and you need to pay a lot of money to get in there. And we have a few guests alongside our main character, who goes by Margot. And they're all invited for this multi-course experience at this fancy swanky diner at a restaurant on an island. The island is secluded. They have coats. They have their own poultry meats. They harvest from the environment, and the whole like full course is supposed to tell like a concept, like a story. And during the events of the night, it gets wilder and wilder and wilder, and bodies start to drop.
Yeah, and this isn't something that normally happens. Like, this is a specific moment because that restaurant has served before without this happening.
Yes. So everybody at the restaurant just think it will be a normal night. Well, but one person, but that's significant later.
Mm.
And as you said, the restaurateur, he feels this emptiness since he reached the top because every single person invited has connection to something that he feels very strongly about.
Mm.
For example, we have the older couple who have dined so many times at this restaurant and cannot name a single dish that they have eaten, even though it is a most privileged of privileges to end up here.
Yeah.
We have a food critics who smears the restaurants and destroys livelihoods, and she feels like that, and he feels that her reviews are destroying the art. We have businessmen who work for the angel investor who lay down the cash for this very restaurant. But he feels too much stifled because of the demands from their boss.
There's the washed up actor.
Yeah, there's the
which I gotta be honest, the explanation why he is there was the funniest of them all.
Yeah, one day I saw I had a day off. It was my one day off, and I saw your movie and it sucked. And every single day I looked back at that day and I remember your face. And it's just like, but he didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm disappointed to see you stoop so low that you were making that film.
Or his assistant, like, I didn't do anything. I'm just here, like, I didn't want to die. Where did you go to school? Princeton. Student loans? No. You're dying.
Yeah, that wasn't his assistant. I think that was his girlfriend, but okay.
But it was also his assistant because he was sleeping with his assistant.
Okay.
It was this whole mess of a relationship.
Yeah, and then there's the main couple, which I guess in the beginning we're kind of supposed to think of them as normal, or one is normal at least. The other one, throughout the longer the film goes, you're just noticing how nuts he is.
Yeah, he's nuts. He's a fanboy. He's the single person who went to this whole goddamn event knowing what the outcome will be.
Yeah.
And not only that, so as we said, heavy spoilers, but I need to say how deranged this person is. Because he hired a prostitute, which is Margot, or Lizzie, we also learn, and she didn't know about it, but he hired a prostitute specifically so he can get into the restaurant. Not only killing someone who didn't want to be there, who did nothing wrong, he also ruined the concept for the head chef, because he specifically made the experiences to
the people that will be coming.
Exactly. For example, we had one dish where he printed out sensitive information on tortillas just to make them just to rile them up, and he couldn't do that because the date that the fancy boy was supposed to bring did not show up. He had Margot with him.
Yeah, and he wanted to get a date there because he also knew that the restaurant wouldn't
allow for a single guest.
Doesn't allow a single guest.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes him into a really bad person, because he takes a person knowing that that person is going to die there.
Yeah, it's messed up, but because as we said, the courses go on and things are getting stranger and stranger. For example, we have the mess, which just entails because one of the dishes, I think that's why he died. One of the dishes was messed up, like it was like partitioned aioli, and it's just like, here you go, here's a whole bowl of partitioned aioli for you, miss. Aren't you so smart right now? And I think that was his mistake. So the chef just makes him unlive himself in front of all the guests.
Mm.
And the people there are still thinking, hey, what a nice theatrical performance.
Yeah.
Like, they were still believing that nothing was wrong.
Okay. So the menu. I gotta be honest with this film. There's one scene that I also love when he's introducing one of the meals. There's a specific one where he's serving tacos, and it's kind of his jolly fun way of Taco Tuesday. Which I kind of that scene for some reason sticks out in my mind of just how joyful he tried to look there.
I think this is also to the film's like strength, because this film, it's very intense. This is just people at a restaurant and the things are going batshit insane, but also really funny.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, this is my favorite film of the year. Like, if you watched our previous episode of Best of the Years, I had the menu second place, but when we recorded that episode, I had kind of just watched the menu the previous day, and then when I started to think about the menu more and more, I kind of changed my mind, and yeah, the menu is my favorite film of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the more you think about it, the more you stew on it, the better it gets.
Mm.
Because it's the absurdity of, like, a chef committing the S word right at everyone, and then, oh, you guys, you told him it was my birthday, and they have sing happy birthday to him as they bring him birthday cake.
Oh, right.
You didn't have to, guys.
We kind of said it as a funny thing previously.
Uh,
before everything started to happen.
yeah. um, but I think I agree. It's one of my favorite movies of last year. Please go watch it. It's a thrill ride.
Mm.
And we haven't
And
spoiled the
then,
ending.
yeah, and then to our the last film we are going to talk about.
Glass Onion.
Yeah, Knives Out, Glass Onion, which was a weird experience to be honest watching this, because knowing that this is a Knives Out movie, you're kind of expecting something like, yeah, the setup is very familiar right now, but the director is going to do something unexpected, and it's you kind of trying to figure out what that is, but you're kind of so focused on trying to find that out that he's kind of sliding in the parts where you aren't really focusing in, and it's giving you kind of what the plot is about, I guess you can say.
Yeah, but I feel like
Or the mystery.
I'm gonna say I have not seen Knives Out before I saw Glass Onion.
You hadn't?
No, so I actually saw Glass Onion first, and then I saw Knives Out. And I think for me, because I saw this movie with my family, and we were keeping tabs on who was the killer. So I think, like, if you want to introduce Knives Out for anyone, I say Glass Onion is a good introduction. Because it made seeing Knives Out so much better, because it was another shift in the genre. Like, these both movies put a good spin on the murder mysteries.
Yeah, it's kind of that thing that the film begins as a kind of normal setup for a murder mystery. But the audience, if you have seen the first Knives Out, you're kind of expecting like, the main rich guy usually is the one getting killed, but you kind of are expecting, no, he can't die, that would be too easy, so you kind of almost write him off in many of the scenes of, yeah, it's too obvious, it can't be him.
But me not seeing the first movie, I legit thought that he was gonna die.
Yeah. To me, it was too easy of a setup that no, he can't be the one to die. It would be too easy. It wouldn't be. If I remember the first Knives Out correctly, that wouldn't be too twisty enough.
But to recap the movie slightly for our listeners, and to give like a snack bite preview, just so that you also see the movie. The movie follows our beloved detective Benoit Blanc, as he is invited to this prestigious island of a multimillionaire, not Elon Musk type of person, and seemingly he's the odd one out. He's the one that's not supposed to be on this fake murder mystery night. Every single one of the guests received a mysterious package from not the Elon Musk guy, and they solve the puzzles in their own little ways. They have like a group chat, and they go to Maldives on this spectacular place with smart alarms and glass onions and just fantastical buildings. It's like, I wish I could have seen the island in real life. It's that magnificent. But things go awry and people begin to die. So it's up to Benoit Blanc to solve the mystery.
Yeah, and there's also one thing of the main rich guy, which in the beginning, what you hear from him, you kind of start to think that, oh, he's some kind of a genius man. But in the film later on, there's a lot of things that you feel doesn't add up with him being this super
genius smart man.
Super genius smart man. Because there are awesome scenes throughout the film which kind of makes him, I feel like he's an idiot in some way, but
Yeah, like he says made up words constantly. He's acting like a d-bag, and he has no intelligence.
Yeah, but there's something thing in the performance that still makes you wonder if he kind of still acts a, a bit up, and he really is smarter than what he looks.
Yeah, but I think this is such a good trope bending thing that the movie is doing, since we have this common misconception that rich people are somehow smarter or like better than us because they're rich, because somehow they got to this point that they're rich and famous and powerful. But no, like we have in real life situation where Elon Musk is paying multi-million dollars fines and going to court over Twitter, and then he's having fallouts on said platform for everyone to see.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I really don't have followed the whole Elon Musk thing, if I'm being honest. So that that thing of the movie, I haven't really. I didn't really see the Elon Musk comparison until I saw some reviews for this film.
Yeah, because the main rich guy, he's kind of an amalgamation of Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, uh, what was his name?
I wonder what Elon Musk thinks of this film.
I don't know. I frankly don't care.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, Elon, if you're listening to this episode, I'm sorry. I do not care for your opinion.
Okay.
Sorry.
I gotta say that usually in a mystery, you're kind of supposed you're kind of there's all of these different characters, and you're kind of trying to see the modus of, oh, who killed the one, or who killed the person. But in this film, I gotta be honest, it doesn't really feel like we focus so much on the side characters, so that they really felt that suspicious in some way.
Well, all of them had good motives when you think about it, which makes a good murder mystery.
Yeah, but I don't feel like you spend enough time with each of the character uh, to really feel like they maybe were the ones that did it or something like that, or that they were the main villain. So it in some way becomes kind of obvious of who the main bad guy is, if you say it like that.
A little bit. Can we talk about the details, actually?
Okay.
So, this is a movie that you have to watch multiple times. I've seen some clips after watching Glass Onion, and it kind of makes sense. So there is one scene where one of the first murder happens, and the main characters and the group is looking for his phone. Basically, as the character was dying, he had his phone, but after his death, the phone is gone. And if you look close enough, you can see who has the phone in their pocket during these scenes when they're looking for it. It's
Well, there's also a scene where he gives someone a drink.
yeah, and you can see it like it's like if you look for it, you can see that the villain gives the victim the drink right in their head and then claims that he didn't do it.
Uh, let's see. In some point of this film, we might as well explain that the film kind of shift completely, and there certainly is a lot of background information given to us
Yeah,
that we didn't previously know.
yeah. So this character shift almost makes them the character like a second main character because it calls also kind of fills the runtime of the movie a lot.
Yeah, it goes on for a really long time.
And the thing is, I really enjoyed it because it fleshed out a lot of the information. It was a fun twist, but the writer almost didn't want to do it because he felt that it would cheat the audience out of the experience. It was too cheap of a trick.
Mm.
But what do you think? Was the twist fun, or did you like it, or did you not like it?
Well, as a mystery film, it's kind of weird because in many ways, in a normal mystery film, you're trying to figure out who the villain that did the crime who is the villain who did the crime. But in this film, it's kind of impossible to almost figure out, because it takes such a long time before we were even given the right information about what the real mystery is.
Yeah, I agree, because it's up until like 2/3 of the movie we have all the pieces we need to try to figure out to know what we're looking for exactly.
Yeah, like what the main mystery of this film is. It takes a while before we even get the information about what to even look for.
But I appreciated it. It was fun. Because after the flashback ends, it continues. Like, with this information, I felt like as we were seeing the flashback, I was thinking, oh no, oh no, oh no, not that this person is dead, it's not gonna work, but surprise.
One thing that I kind of want to say about this, there's one scene that I also kind of just remember, and that is when Melda Blanc is telling the audience who the villain of the film is, and he's kind of is like, and he's irritated because he realized that the main kind of villain is an idiot.
Yeah.
And that is why he had a hard time figuring it out, because he's really good at the complex mysteries, but if it's simple he has, or a simple mystery, he has a hard time of it, and that is kind of shown, and that's kind of why he's so irritated by this main bad guy, and he calls him an idiot. And then one of the people that's on that isn't the brightest as well is kind of calling him, oh, it's so stupid that he's brilliant, and the detective just goes back of, no, he's just an idiot.
Yeah, I love that moment. It was iconic. It literally like I everyone needs to see it for that scene.
Yeah, it's kind of like this commentary of how we sometimes perceive things as, oh, it's so,
like, it must be
so
complex, right?
that it's so stupid that it's smart, and he kind of just, no, it's just dumb.
Well, yeah.
Well, the film was a good time anyway. It was a fun twist on a mystery film, I feel like, and I would give this an 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Also, I just wanted to point one thing out. So in the beginning of the movie, when we meet the Blanc, he's in a bathtub, but someone else opened the door for the package, and it's Philip, played by Hugh Grant. And here's the question: what's the deal between Philip and Benoit Blanc?
Well, I feel like it's very obvious what that is, Karol.
Yeah, I feel so too. Okay, but I think with that, I think it's time for us to finish the episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, as always, thank you all for listening, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we have. Don't forget to follow, hit that bell icon, or follow us on socials like Twitter, YouTube, or Tumblr. See you again on the next episode, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.